particularly here, in the jaw area, here, in the power centre, my heart. The power felt, had more pain than my heart, which was surprising to me.
My whole body had an electrical current running through it, and initially it was terrifying, but once I felt safe, and once you helped me feel here, I was able to just let it flow and just feel that. I'd experienced it any other time, I would have been too terrified and I would have shut it down, but I've allowed it to just completely flow through, and every single cell in my body was vibrating with this electrical energy. It was amazing.
So it went from terrifying to incredibly interesting and adventurous and pleasant.
Being embraced, yes, definitely. Yeah. Completely embraced. Because I felt safe. It was a safe environment for me to just surrender and let go of the control to enable it to be.
And the terrifying part was more because it's a feeling you haven't felt before.
Unknown.
The unknown. It wasn't an awful feeling, it's the unknown that was an awful feeling.
The feeling wasn't the feeling wasn't bad, it was my fear of the unknown that was the issue.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I felt safe, I could stop the fear and let the fear go, and then it just flowed. I never thought I would be able to experience that sort of energy flowing through my body and that connection with mine. That was phenomenal.
And then it turned into pleasure vibrations as that electrical energy travelled through your body.
Once I allowed the energy to flow and I stopped being fearful of it, it was illuminating. It literally lit me up from the inside. And that's why I didn't know if you could, that's why I said, is it just in me or is it outside as well? Like it felt that profound that I didn't know if I was glowing on the table.
You were immersed in it. It was around you and it was inside of you.
Yes.
It felt like that, didn't it?
Yeah, completely in, out, everywhere.
So we just went for a stroll on the beach to try and connect me with the ocean, which I didn't really feel. I only felt external sensations on the skin, water on the skin, air on the skin, but no actual feeling inside.
Yet you love swimming in the ocean.
Love the ocean.
So you thought.
Yes.
You loved using the ocean and what it does for you, but you never actually connected with it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you realise you weren't connected with it when you were swimming it in the past?
No.
How do you recognise the disconnection now?
Well, disconnection with, everything in life.
The following videos are of amazing teachers that help explain the phenomenon that my clients have experienced. These are amazing human beings that have actually really gone deep into the ancient teachings to change their lives. Some of them from having TB, others from autism as an adult, heart attacks, cancers, lymphoma, anything you can imagine. So then they put the system together to help. So the first teacher is Sir John Whitman Ray, and he actually is talking about Abraham, a Kahuna master who went through this. So the following video will be about the very man he's talking about. So pay attention. You will be amazed how he actually went through this and lived through it.
In Hawaii, I had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with different people at different times, with different levels of learning and experience. Had this one man experience in his training to become what we call a kahuna. Now here is a gentleman that went through a number of years of non-verbal so training, that they would be able to learn to be conversant with trees and talk to trees, talk to plants, talk to rocks, talk to animals, okay? to where they are perfectly in one with nature. Now, are you ready? After 3 years of nonverbal training, there were 3 people training to become a kahuna. 2 men, 1 woman. And after 3 years, they came to the time when there was a test of poison. All right? The female kahuna trainee was offered a half a coconut shell full of deadly poison. And she drank it, overcame the effects of the poison, and was fine. Didn't faze her. The second person in line, there's a female kahuna here. The kahuna was here. The female was here. She drank her cup, no problem. The one in the middle was a male kahuna trainee. He drank his cup of poison and dropped dead on the spot. Okay. The third one was my teacher, and he took his cup of poison as his friend dropped dead. And he looked at his friend and felt sorry for his friend that had dropped dead after taking the cup of poison. This is what you call sympathy. And when his heart went out in sympathy, where he felt sorry for his friend, the effect of the poison began to penetrate his being, and he had to act very quickly. And he had to very quickly switch from sympathy to empathy. Empathy is understanding that the other person had free will. They didn't exercise it properly. They died. So he very quickly had to shift around to where he felt the poison now, 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 with non-resistance. Listen to my words. And Doug has a story to tell you then. He had to experience it in the ever-present now, now, now. He felt the poison come into his body. He recreated the poison going into his body. He held his body erect, powerfully strong, assumed the virtue, feeling the poison now, penetrating his very body, re-experiencing it, re-experiencing it, re-experiencing it, re-experiencing it, until there was nothing left to re-experience, and he overcame the cup of poison. If you feel sorry for somebody, you're denying the God within them, and you take upon yourself the energy of that person, that who's sick and dying. If you have an understanding heart, and you love that person as an eternal soul, knowing that they are manifesting outwardly what they have inwardly manifested, and that so without, so within. And so if you take a position where you feel sorry for a person who's a cripple, you add to the creation of that crippled condition. But when you can see a person as perfect divine order, and there are no mistakes, when they apply the laws to their body and to their mind, they become gradually totally clear and well of that condition that has besieged them perhaps for many years. And that problem that they have had then becomes their greatest teacher. Now, after this one guy dropped dead, the kahuna walked away, the other 2 followed him. And about 3.5 to 4 days later, he came back, cradled the dead person in their arm, was like a stuffed toad by that time, you know. He cradled him in, blew the breath of life into him, and he came back to life. But he was told at that time that he did not have the ability to ever become a kahuna, but he could come along with the rest of them since they've been together and complete their training, which would be about another 7, 8 years. I hope you're hearing me. Well, after a little while, he got tired of that, and he quit, and he went to another kahuna to get training from him to become a kahuna. And at that time, he went through the test again, failed it, and died. Okay? That's what happened to him. This is not kid stuff we're talking about here.
basic principle of the Kahuna throughout the Pacific is family. And you know, most modern people, when you talk about family and ohana, they're only looking at people. You know, the Kahuna's perception of family goes deeper than that. You know, it goes into space of existence. And again, like, you know, everything you can think of, everything you can see, everything you can hear, smell, breathe, everything you can eat, consume, speak about, everything you can touch and feel, every heartbeat, every longing, every desire, everything you can walk to, come from, or stand upon every moment of your life. High above, far below, in between, and all around. Now that's mana. You know, that's a real solid perspective to have.
When you look at everything here as a member of your family, what happens, you are able to adjust the percentage, you might say, of how often they act the way they act. It's to say that in your mind, if you are angry, that's a member of your family. If you're sad, that's a member of your family. If you're grieving, that's a member of your family. Then you adjust these members of your family so that you stand powerful, you stand in your place as the center of your universe.
What we usually do is give you the principles of Kahuna. And that is the main idea behind Napua Alohe. It's the Kahuna principles, and the Kahuna principles always allow you to build, manifest, and understand the depth of yourself, rather than give you a whole line of words and words and chants to speak of, and have you keep a book about it and read it and learn it and perform it. But beneath that all, there's something else that always needs to be attended to, and you could say that we feel what needs to be attended to is the principle of family. How you can adjust yourself in such a way that it affects your family, and affects your family in a very loving and unassuming way. And a lot of times your change, or the individual's change, really changes everybody in the family, but nothing was said.
You come to understand that the rhythm is in the leaf. Come to understand that the rhythm is in the tree that the leaf comes from. That the rhythm is in the ground that the tree grows from. That the rhythm is in the island, in the planet, in the continent that that ground is upon the planet, within the galaxy, within the universe, within the universe.
Understand yourself totally and completely in such a way that you approach your family members, your feelings with a sense of dignity rather than an indignant action. So being well is in reality keeping well, keeping family well. Such as anger or or grief or sadness can only be an obstacle when you don't recognize it as a family member. A family member is never an obstacle. A family member is actually your gift to all of those things that you may want in life. The pathway to fear is the pathway to is the pathway to being one with oneself. Or if you fear yourself, then you will fear anything else. If you're afraid that you are doing this, or this is not happening, or that is not happening, basically you are doing it to yourself. So if you understand how that works, fear, that child of yours, so to speak, will eventually be that great athlete that you had dreamed yourself to be, or that great individual that stepped across the line when you couldn't. That nobleness, that character, that ambassador, that emissary into long life, peace and happiness, tranquility, and forever the dignity of the universal family. In nature, in yourself, in everything that ever was, ever will be, here and now, everywhere.
I want to personally, on behalf of my wife and myself, I want to just really extend to you our heartfelt greetings to each and every one of you. In looking through the enormous number of little letters that I received, which bring tears to my eyes sometimes because of what experiences each person has gone through. There has been tremendous traumas, tremendous pain, tremendous struggles that are represented here today. I mean, I'm serious. It's just tremendous, tremendous life-threatening situations that are here. And I'm grateful that you're here. We only have 7 days. But 7 days will give you guidelines that will last the rest of your life. I'm reminded from some of the numbers of problems that some of you are seriously suffering from. I remember back about 1952, when the Korean War was going on. It's a number of years ago. I was in university at the time. And many of the fellows my age were being called up for the draft. And I can remember the feeling I had that I felt I didn't need to go to the war. I didn't want to kill anybody. I had no desire to hurt anybody. And so I thought to myself of the different possibilities that I had of not going to war in what I called a needless war. And so I looked very carefully into becoming a conscientious objector, and that did not appeal to me. So I did join what we call the Oregon National Guard, and it's a unit that is called up when necessary, and I felt that I could continue on with my education at that time, and that's quite a few years ago when you stop and think about it. And I thought I could continue on with my university education, and then, unbeknownst to me, I had to take a medical. And I took this medical, and I promptly was rejected from the Oregon National Guard, who took anybody and everybody. And I went down and asked them what the reason was, because I felt that this is a way I could fulfill my military duty in a certain way. And they gave me 18 valid reasons in their book as to reasons why I would be rejected from any type of military duty at all after having been checked over carefully. My epilepsy that I suffered from at that time was cause number one. I had chronic lung problems with tuberculosis that had restricted my lung problems, and I had big black blotches on my x-rays, you know, from the tuberculosis, and I was born with it. My mother had it, and I was born very, very weak, and everyone was concerned about my mother's tuberculosis, but they didn't know that I was suffering from it also. And so I had every little lung problem that came along, from bronchitis to pneumonias to one thing or another, and I didn't survive a few times. It just, by the skin of my teeth, I'm still here. I had severe heart problems with a very severe heart murmur, where I was told I should never participate in any form of athletics. I didn't listen to that reasoning, and I had a tremendous amount of heart palpitations, and it wasn't until about, say, 5 years ago, my heart rhythm was such that I'd have a beat, and I'd miss a couple of beats, and then beat, and then miss a couple of beats, and my heart was just worse than anybody I was working with. And so we're working night and day on helping people, and at that time my heart rhythm was way, way off. Most of these, if people's that I checked over had a heart rhythm as bad as mine was, I would really put them into an intensive type situation of getting cured. I tried everything on my heart to get that back to normal, having had a severe heart attack when I was 40. I was told I'd never be able to work again. I had to work at trying to find a way of regenerating the heart. That has since been found. I'm very happy about that. Anyway, there are 18 different reasons. I won't go through all these, because most of these, some of you have just as many, if not more, problems than I had when I was born and raised as a small, sickly child. I tell people I was at the end of the pecking order in the chicken coop. You know, you ever see the chicken that's at the end of the pecking order? They're always pecked on. Their feathers are gone, you know, and they're always they're always screaming for survival as the other chickens peck on them. That's how I was. The original snot-nosed little kid that couldn't that had a runny nose and sinus problems and congestion and headaches and in bed half the time with illnesses, being stuffed up with antibiotics that everyone thought was a miracle cure. Well, this is the way it was. And somehow we've overcome nearly everything over the many years. Not 7 days. Fair enough? Not 7 days, but over many years of learning the procedures necessary, which we call body electronics, to help get the body, this corpus delicti, back to a fully workable situation. Now, there are always a few little problems that arise. I look at them today as challenges, as an educational procedure to find out, now what do I do with this problem now, and how do I solve it? And these things, I hope that each of you can look at your afflictions as the most wonderful opportunity for an education you could possibly have. And what we'll do is, collectively, we will help each other out, work together until a lot of these problems are solved. Some of the problems are relatively simple, and some are highly complex, and it's like a combination lock, and you might have to have 12 tumblers put in line before the combination lock opens. And some of these tumblers are like looking for needles in the haystack, and you have to be patient not only with yourselves, but with people who are holding the point.
What we are asking is, can the fragment dissolve itself?
Yeah. Okay.
And then only it's possible to see the whole. You cannot be fragmented and then wish for the whole.
Right.
Then it's merely...
All you really know is your fragmentation.
That's all we know.
That's right.
Therefore, let's stick to that.
Okay.
Is love remembrance? Please which means, is love the remembered experience as pleasure, and the demand of thought as desire with its image, and the pursuit of that image is called love. Is that love? That's that. And is being attached to a person or to country, to an idea, is that love? Attachment, dependence. Please look into yourself, not listen to me. But what is significant, what's worthwhile, is that you listen to yourself. When these questions are being put, you have to answer it for yourself, because it's your daily life. And if attachment is not love, and if attachment is love, what are the implications involved in it? You understand my question? If we say love is pleasure, then we must see the whole consequences and the implications of that statement. Then we depend entirely on sensory, sexual excitement, which is called love. And with it goes all the suffering, the anxiety, the desire to possess, and from that possessive desire, attachment. And where you are attached, there is fear, fear of loss. And from that arises jealousy, anxiety, anger, gradual hatredness. Right? And also you must see what are the consequences if it is not pleasure. Then what is love? Which is not jealousy, attachment, remembrance, pursuit of pleasure through imagination and desire and so on. Is love then the opposite of all this? You follow? I'm lost. We said, is love the opposite of pleasure, of attachment, of jealousy? If love is that, then that love contains jealousy, attachment, and all the rest of it. Therefore, love, seeing all the implications of attachment, pursuit of desire, the continuous reel of remembrances. I loved and I am not loved. I remember that particular sexual pleasure or that particular incident which gave me delight. So the pursuit of that and the opposite of what is called love is then love the opposite of hate. You understand? Or love has no opposite. You following all this? It's very short. It's hot. So, and we are finding out. Please go with it. You will see something extraordinary come out of this. I don't know what's coming out of it myself, but I can feel something extraordinary coming out of it if we all listen to ourselves, actually. And the religions have made love of God, love of Jesus, love of Krishna, love of Buddha, and follow, totally unrelated to daily life. And we are concerned with the understanding and finding the truth of our daily life, the totality of it, not just sex or power or position or jealousy or some idiotic complex one has, but the whole structure and the nature of the extraordinary life in which we live. So, as we said, the opposite is not love. If we understand that through negation of what is not, which means not negating or denying in the sense of pushing it away, resisting it, controlling it, but understanding the whole nature and the structure and the implications of desire, of pleasure, of remembrance. Out of that comes this sense of intelligence, which is the very essence of love, right?
And it can heal anything and everything. And the doctors don't want healing. They don't make money when you're healthy. So, I'm going to give you a diet now. My suggested diet, which is an average diet for anybody to eat. Now, depending upon the toxicity, if I don't see you, to see your irises, and to see the extent of the toxicity in your body, I don't know how much how much cheese you should eat. So I'm not going to recommend that. I'm just going to tell you a basic diet, and then you, on your own feeling, will come to me, and I'll tell you what I suggest in particular for you. And I'm going to give you a basic one right now. Wake in the morning with the poisons, so you don't get too dry. That's to absorb the poisons in the body, in the stomach, in the intestines. Suck a raw egg. I'll show you how to suck a raw egg. It's easy with this. You don't have to clean the glass. So you take an egg. There's a fatter end and there's a thinner end, a smaller end, narrower end. Now you don't want to put two holes at both ends because why? It's going to drip all over. You're going to try to hold it, keep it. It's going to get all over everything. Your clothes, your floor, your table, wherever you are. So what you want to do is you want to fracture the fat end without making a hole. So you hit it on the side against an eye tooth. And you make it about as big as a penny, a dime, I don't know what your change is here. But a little broken area where the shell is fractured without creating a hole. So, see that fracture? Everybody see that? That eye tooth, that canine, and you make a little happy smile. Now I got a little happy smile face, a little hole in it. Now, eating the egg white is best to eat first. You suck a little into your mouth. I'm one of those that can't, my throat never expanded properly as an infant because of all the injections. So if I put a whole egg in my mouth, I'll gag. And some people could just break an egg into a glass and down it. Sylvester Stallone could put 5 eggs into a glass and just down it. And for real, he did it. And I can't do that. So I'll suck out about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of egg white every time. And I mix it with my saliva until it's no longer slimy. And the egg white just tastes like slightly salty water. Tastes like a little, like less salty ocean water. I bite on my teeth, and I keep sucking the egg through my teeth. It causes saliva to mix. It takes away all that sliminess. By the time I swallow it, it's all thin, like water, like slimy, salty water. I hold it down like this so I don't get the egg yolk. If I go up, I'm going to get the heavy egg yolk. So I suck it up. I really like the taste of it. I'm so used to it. Now the yolk bobbed up, but not all the egg white's out of it. So I'm going to shake it a little bit, shake it loose, egg white loose with the yolk. And I'm going to suck it again. More of the egg white. And I'm down to the egg yolk, upside down and down.